if you look around, there is people that do care. All the businesses up here that freely give, I want to thank them, and I want to thank everybody that's worked to make this possible. Today we've got a special speaker. She's actually doing her senior project on suicide awareness, which is a school age. I mean, right now you're hearing of this happening younger and younger, and I think it's so important, and I think we need to give her a hand for taking on this subject. Thank you, Missy Fuentes.
Come on.
So I'm just gonna be reading a speech that I wrote for a speech contest to raise awareness for suicide. I have tried to commit suicide. Silence. The counselor's voice resonates across the room. 1, 4, 17, 36, 53. Nearly half of the high school students walked to the other side of the room. They crossed the line of vulnerability. They crossed the line symbolizing the battle of a conqueror. The heartfelt poet, the beautiful singer, the resilient woman. People I would have never imagined felt like they had no other solution to their pain. I was speechless. Suicide is an uncomfortable topic to speak about, but I managed to piece together one girl's story. She was a freshman in high school, attending a camp at UNC Chapel Hill, mainly for juniors and seniors. She was 14 years old and goalie for her high school varsity soccer team. This was the first time I'd met her. She was young, brilliant, and very outspoken about her beliefs. She was confident and stood tall when she spoke. She talked to everyone and carried a smile on her face. Little did I know she survived the constant battle of living or dying. Writing poetry was her way of coping with the pain. Abuse was the reason she tried to end her life. Her sole time spent in the presence of her abuser had no solution. One day I hoped he wouldn't beat me. One day I hoped she wouldn't leave me. The absence of the savior left her feeling abandoned. Waking up in the hospital came as a shock to her, as she said, "If only I would have taken one more, I would not have had to wake up." She wanted to end her pain, and she had no other way of stopping it. The room was filled with sobs and heartache. She was a true conqueror. No one would think a girl who carried herself with such confidence and courage would have had thoughts like these. Everyone knew she was intelligent, beautiful, and resilient, but no one knew she was abused, abandoned, and helpless. Her story just happens to be one of thousands. Many feel suicide to be the only solution. There are on average 123 suicides per day. For every suicide, 25 people attempt. It is the third leading cause of death for young boys. That is why it's our responsibility to ensure we can detect the signs of suicidal thoughts and hardships. Notice the change. A simple "are you okay" can go a long way. Being asked if one is okay not only shows someone that they can talk about their problems, but that they have someone who cares. I was once told a story by a retired teacher, loving and caring for everyone around her. One day she ran into one of her old students. The student, now a grown woman, greeted her kindly and noticed that her former teacher didn't remember her all too well. The teacher sincerely apologized, saying that it's hard to remember so many students. The woman forgave her almost immediately, saying that if it weren't for her, she wouldn't be alive today. The teacher didn't understand, and the woman went into detail about a life-changing moment that occurred in the hallway at school. She said she was having a bad day, and the teacher stopped her in the hallway, hugged her, and said, "Are you okay?" The young girl just said, "Yeah, it's just been one of those days." For many, that one day is all it takes. The woman goes on to explain a moment most people deem irrelevant had changed her life. She was planning on ending her life when she got home. She told her teacher that she felt like no one cared, but her simple question showed her that there were people in the world who cared about her. A simple greeting can affect one in many ways. It has stopped at least one person to reconsider their thoughts and refrain from permanent decisions. Granted, the teacher didn't know she made such an impact in the moment, but a small gesture carries someone else a long way. The mere thought that everyday actions and words can determine one's reason for living have inspired me to say hello to the one girl sitting alone, welcome someone new to an area, reconnect with old friends, and remind people that there are others who care about their well-being. And I sincerely hope that every day we as a society strive to make a connection with people we normally wouldn't think needed. One day it could be the girl who sits at the front of every class. It could be a sibling. It could be the smartest, most beautiful person who seems to have it all. We may never know. We need to make sure we make more of an effort to stop thoughts like these from going through the minds of those around us. The simple efforts we can make to ensure that people will live to see the bright horizon of tomorrow is more important than anyone can imagine. It will ensure that we can keep our friends. Those struggling to get out of the pitch black cave they are trapped in will start to see a small speck of light. They will find a meaning to life, they will live for themselves, and they will live for us. And that is all that matters.
That was a powerful speech. Let's give her another hand. You know, we can be standing right beside somebody and not really know what they're thinking. You know, we really need to be more aware of our surroundings and the changes in people that we love. I think maybe that can help us to maybe be a little kinder to others. We have another speaker today. She has been dealing with depression herself, and she has faced suicide in so many different ways, and she's here to speak. Deja Hincher, please. Let's welcome her.
Hello. Pretty nervous. I'm not typically a public speaker. I don't get up in front of the crowd and speak to anybody, and I slur my words, I stutter, and growing up that was always a huge problem. Everybody always picked on me for it. It's like, well, you need to pay attention more. You need to just concentrate, pay attention. That's just it. I do. It's just, it still makes me nervous. No matter what. Well, just imagine everybody in their underwear. I can't do that. You know, that's just one of those things. Okay, I can do it now, but no, when I look at you, no, I can't do it. Sorry. I'm going to give a small little introduction. I was telling my mom about it, and hopefully it'll make you laugh, make you smile, just make you kind of lower your head, shake your head, something. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Deja Hincher. I'm 28 years old. I got 4 little girls, and this is my story. Now, when I was rehearsing that, to me, it's like, Mom, you know, that kind of sounds like the introduction to an AA meeting. I mean, to me it does, but okay. Growing up, it was really hard to be who I was away from home. To me, home was everything. Home is what's counted. Most of my teenage life, I grew up away from Wilkes County, and because I was not from that county, I was not part of the it crowd. I was not what they wanted me to be, what society wanted me to be. I was broken down, I was beaten, and to this day, even 28 years old, I am still being broken down and beaten every single day. But I'm still here. About 16 years ago was when my life changed. I used to be a big-time four-wheeler rider. Loved getting on my four-wheeler and just going for a drive, clearing my head, whatever it took. Well, I had planned out exactly what I wanted to do. I knew my four-wheeler like the back of my hand. I knew the weight distribution. I knew how to make it flip, how to make it land on me and kill me instantly. I knew everything. So one day, I set out to do just that, to never come back home. I got my four-wheeler up on two wheels, ready to flip it. Image of my niece popped in my head. She looked at her dad. She said, "Daddy, what happened to Aunt Daisy?" That was it. I put it back on four wheels and I went home. Ever since then, my life's changed. I've always wanted to make everybody smile from that day forward, no matter what I say, what I do. Make somebody smile. So that whole joke a little bit ago about, it sounds like an AA meeting introduction, that was the purpose, to make at least one person smile. That makes me feel better. Makes my depression a little less difficult every day. I do have a couple of things that I have prepared. One of the most popular things nowadays is the semicolon tattoo. I have that, with the quote that I come up with on my own. Even broken wings can still fly. Because no matter how many times I have been broken or beaten, I'm still standing here. I'm still standing strong. On April 16, 2013, everyone who self-harms is suicidal, depressed, has anxiety, is unhappy, going through a broken heart, just lost a loved one, etc. Draw a semicolon on your wrist. A semicolon represents a sentence the author couldn't have ended, but chose that the author could have ended, but chose not to. The author is you, and the sentence is your life. Don't end it. Start new. Me as a poet, when I saw that was pretty deep for me. Poet, amateur writer, I agreed with that. That's why I got it. And another part of my story is not mine, but I have been given permission to share. It's my mom's. Long time ago, before I was 10, my mom committed suicide. She did. She was pronounced dead. And I don't know how long she was that way. She did not tell me. But she did. She was in a very depressed marriage. The husband was mentally, emotionally, and physically abusive. And she felt like she was nothing. She was taking antidepressants, and that just turned her into a walking, talking zombie, basically. She felt no emotion whatsoever. I remember this. One day she had had enough. She went down to the creek and she overdosed. She was pronounced dead. Before they got her to the hospital, on the ambulance ride to the hospital, they was able to bring her back. Ever since that day, her life has changed. She's been brought back new. And growing up, knowing what my mom did, it made me feel depressed, to make me want to try to do the same thing. Some time ago, I had got addicted to drugs. I got that depressed. I got addicted to drugs. What snapped me out of it was, one day I couldn't even get out of bed to cook for my kids. And it's like, no, I can't do this. There's got to be something better than this. My kids have helped me see the light in the day, to brighten my day, every day. No matter whether they're with me all the time, at school, wherever, my kids are there. Last year, one of my favorite musicians committed suicide. He had been suffering from depression for many years. And oddly enough, through my darkest depression days, it was his band, his voice, that got me through a good portion of my depression after my four-wheeler experience. And I had wrote this: depression is real, people. I don't show it or act like it, but I do suffer from depression every single day. It's not a choice. I don't choose to feel this way. That's why half the time I text people just to say hey and try to get some light into my life. Yes, I have my children, but it's not all sunshine and rainbows. My children don't always want to come to my house. Majority of the time, they don't stay the whole week. Yes, I have Gemma every day, but it's not the same as when I have all of them. Every day I battle things in my mind that just randomly show up. There was a point in my life where I thought if I died, the world and everybody around me would be better off. It wasn't the music of Linkin Park, nor was it the words. It was Chester's voice that broke me free from my mind. If you randomly get a message, text, phone call, or whatever from somebody that you haven't spoken to in a while, please don't take it for granted. Just talk to them. Make sure they know that they can contact you anytime. Trust me. Having my friends in my life has helped me more than I ever thought possible. I don't tell them that they're fine and everything will be okay. I'm having an issue with those phrases right now. It's like I know everything is okay and that I'm fine, but it doesn't change the way my mind works. It doesn't change the way my emotions ruin that. Please reach out to people, even if they don't reach out to you. Let them know that you care about them and love them. Invite them over for a coffee and just talk. I know how much of a toll depression can have on one's life. Being addicted to drugs and alcohol is a side effect. It's a way for those to escape their mind. And not everybody can remove those things from their lives. So please, I'm begging you, reach out to friends and family, even strangers. Let people know that they matter, that they're not just a waste of space, that they are important, that they are loved. And that's one thing I've noticed throughout my years that a lot of people don't take seriously. Just the slightest hello, how are you doing? How is your day? That can change somebody's life instantly. Just the fact of, hey, stranger asked me how my day was. Maybe my day isn't so bad after all. I mean, even if they wind up telling you a 5-hour-long story about their life, that's okay. Listen to them. You talk to them, they talk to you. Everybody's story needs to be heard. And when I talk to somebody that tells me about what they're going through, yeah, I may throw in a similar story from my own experience, but I don't do it in a way to say, hey, you know, I had it rough than you, or it couldn't have been as bad as this. No, no, no. I do it as a way to say, I can somewhat understand what you're going through, and I'm here for you. I'm willing to talk. Even if you just want somebody to be an ear to listen to, I can be that person. If you don't want me to talk at all, okay, fine, whatever. Just let me know, hey, can you listen to me for a little bit? Sure, no problem. And if I start talking, just be like, Deja, shut up. Just shut up. Okay, I can do that. So just, too often we underestimate the power of a touch, a smile, a kind word, a listening ear, an honest compliment, or the smallest act of care, all of which have the potential to turn a life around. And that is true. No matter what, even the smallest little action can make somebody's life better, can make somebody decide, hey, maybe I can stay. And that's all I got. Thank you.
You know, sharing our personal stories sometimes, it helps. It helps. We have somebody here today. He is the owner and therapist. He's certified clinical trauma professional. He's Dallas Johnson, to talk to us about mental health.
Hey guys, it's good to be here today. Just want to share some things with you. Again, I'm Dallas, and I'm the owner of Aspen Mental Health. I'm also the pastor of LifePoint Community Church, and I appreciate Patty and Claudia and all the other people getting together to do this. This means so much. There's so much of a need for more awareness, more education, right, and more encouragement for everybody who's faced suicide or have lost a loved one to suicide. As some of you guys have already said today, suicide is one of the leading causes of death in the United States. In 2016, suicide was the 10th leading cause of death overall, claimed the life of more than 44,000 people. That's a lot. It's the second leading cause of death among individuals between the ages of 10 and 34. Right? And that's a new statistic that we didn't have last year. The bracket, the younger bracket, has now been included as in that second leading cause. Suicide rates have increased nearly in every state over the past 2 decades, and half of the states have seen suicide rates go up more than 30%. According to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, every day approximately 123 Americans take their own lives. Folks, that's something that we need to be concerned about, and we need to think about what do we do about that. In fact, Harvard tells us that about 6 or more people are affected by the loss of each suicide. So you think about, not only are we losing someone to that, but all of our families are being really impacted and affected because of what's happening. Over the past several years, there's been an increased focus on awareness, education, better interventions. We've all been thinking about ways to do our part. And I think things are getting better as it comes to more awareness and more interventions, but I still think we've got a long ways to go until we can reverse the statistics and get them going in the other direction. One of the things that I wanted to talk to you about today, though, is why. Why is suicide such a big deal? Why are people taking their lives? Where does this hopelessness come from? And I want to put together a couple of things so that we do have a little bit more awareness. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services tell us that at least 90% of all people who die by suicide, they're either suffering from one or more mental disorders, such as depression, bipolar, schizophrenia, or alcoholism. Depression in particular plays an extremely large role in people taking their life. The difficulty with depression is that depression will cloud our judgment and cause us to not be able to think about better decisions. So we look at suicide as our only option when it really isn't. But when we get so depressed, it can really distort our thinking. Trauma also plays a large role in suicide, and that's a piece that I wanted to touch on today, and that's the work that I do a lot of. I do a lot of trauma work through Aspen. I'm a certified trauma professional, and so the work that I do specifically focuses in on that. Several years ago, there was a big study that came out called the Adverse Childhood Experience Study. Had a lot of publicity. You may or may not have heard about it. Kaiser Permanente and the Center for Disease Control completed the study. They had about 17,000 people that were involved, and what they did, they considered 10 factors, right? And here's the 10 factors. Individuals in this study were asked these things. How many of these things occurred before the age of 18? And they looked at physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, physical neglect, emotional neglect, exposure to domestic violence, household substance abuse, household mental illness, parental separation or divorce, incarcerated household members. So they looked at those 10 things, and so you got a score based on how many of these you experienced before the age of 18. So your score would be 0 to 10. And what in the world does this mean for our mental health? Let me give you a couple of things that's really important. People with an ACE score, the Adverse Childhood Experience score, who scored at least 4 are twice as likely to be smokers and 7 times more likely to be an alcoholic. If you had an ACE score of at least 4, it also increased the risk of emphysema or chronic bronchitis by nearly 400%. And it increased your risk of an attempted suicide by 1,200%. There is a huge link between our childhood traumas and our depression and our mental health. People with high ACE scores are more likely to be violent, to have more marriages that are broken, more broken bones, more drug prescriptions, more depression, and more autoimmune disease. People with an ACE score of 6 or higher are at a risk of their lifespan being shortened by 20 years. That's pretty significant. The findings suggest that childhood adversity contributes to most of our major chronic health and mental health, our economic health, and our social health issues. So again, going back to our early traumas and the way we were raised and the things we experienced, those are big deals when we think about our mental health, our stability, and our physical health. According to the CDC, nearly 2/3, 64% of suicide attempts among adults are attributed and can be attributed to the ACE score, a high ACE score. 80% of suicide attempts during childhood and adolescence are attributed to a high ACE score. The strongest predictor in this ACE study research was emotional abuse, right? We don't talk a lot about that, right? We don't have a lot of preventions in place in our country for emotional abuse. We think about physical abuse and the other kind of abuses, but emotional abuse plays a big part in our emotional stability. The thing about it is, an ACE score does not change no matter how old you get, right? You can't change your experiences. But we have learned some things over the years. We can build resiliency. As they got into this ACE study and they learned more and more about people's trauma histories, they also learned that people also have resiliency, right? So if you had someone that was really kind to you early on, maybe you had a grandparent that was really caring to you, right? You had these connections, and it built resiliency in people's lives. And the higher your resiliency goes, the better equipped you are to make it through some of those traumatic experiences. The other piece is, we found out if we treat the trauma early, we can also change the adverse effects of what happened in childhood. So maybe you do have a child who experienced some great trauma. They have the potential to grow up as an adult and experience some pretty hard times, right? They might be more prone to have depression. They might be more prone to think about suicide. So we know if we can treat that trauma early, then we can prevent some of those outcomes, some of those negative outcomes. So I want to challenge you today to go to our website at Aspen Mental Health and check your own ACE score. If you go onto the homepage, there's a button on there. It says Get My ACE Score. Right? Click it and see where your ACE score is. That may be a great indication of what you need to do in your own life. We can treat adult trauma just as well, right? If you're depressed, if you're experiencing a lot of things, we can work on correcting that. And luckily, we also have the techniques now to treat early childhood. The treatment models that we're able to use are about 80% effective. And if you know anything about mental health at all, that is a very high effectiveness rate. Right? You don't get much higher than that. So if you hadn't done that, I want to encourage you to do that. Another way we can work to prevent suicide as a society is know the signs. And I'm not going to go through all the signs, but I do want to mention this. Look for a plan. Right? If they've got a plan, you need to be thinking about that. If they've got means to carry out the plan, if they've got a time set, if they've got the intention to do it, you need to be able to speak up and tell somebody, get this person help. Right? Get them to a hospital. Get them to a mental health clinician somewhere. Right? Get whatever they've got to particularly use to harm themselves. Get that away from them. Make sure that you're keeping them safe. There are things that we can do. We just certainly need a lot more awareness. I hope that this has been beneficial to you today to think about some of these things. And if I can help any of you at all, just let me know. I'm here. I'll be here for you to come talk to. And I've got some cards and some brochures and things too if I can help you in that way.
I have so much to thank, number one, God for, but one of them is for that man back there because he has helped me through so much. When my brother died by suicide 3 years ago, I struggled. I struggled really hard, and honestly, I got to the point where I wanted to die. I really wanted to die. And I stayed silent, just like the devil wants us to. Keep silent, don't talk about that. Well, God had other plans because out of nowhere, I just looked at my sister one day and I said, I want to die. And I was serious. I want to die. And I knew then after I spoke up, I had to do something about it. So Dallas canceled me, and through that whole experience, this is where this comes from. I don't want anybody to feel like they need to stay silent. They need to use their voice and get their voice out there. Speak about your feelings. Find somebody you can trust and talk to them. We have one more speaker, and I want to thank her so much for coming today. I don't know what this woman's been through. She's had an extremely rough month. She is battling something right now, and we all need to be in prayer for her, but she has took time today to come speak to us, and I think it's so important. Miss Beanie Taylor.
I'm here today because I I am a survivor also. You may recognize me from the paper, and it is nothing short of a miracle that I'm there. We've been standing out here for a little while, and it started to get hot, so I'm not going to keep you much longer. I want to let you know that, yeah, people are doing this early. My first time, I was in the 7th grade. I remember everything. I remember tying the cord around my neck. I remember when the world started to go dark. And I remember the knock on the door that saved my life. I was in the 8th grade when I tried it again. That time, I was surprised to wake up. That saved me for a little while from actually attempting, but the thought is often there. Claudia said that, well, it's been a tough summer. And I've thought about it. Still, I have a good life, and I've thought about it. And the thing that keeps me going is you guys. I know I have to keep breathing because my story helps somebody out there. So you're the person I'm talking to. Just keep breathing. Sometimes that's your only job. It does not matter if you're not getting out of bed because you're breathing. Because if you're breathing, tomorrow can be better. Because it will. I promise. It'll get better. This only lasts for a moment. This feeling goes away. It might last for a lot of moments, but you'll forget. Somebody will come along and they'll distract you. You'll watch TV and you'll laugh, and it'll get better. And when it's not getting better, go do something nice for someone. Kindness cures. I'm going to leave you with that thought and let you know that after the memorial walk, I'll be over under the shelter for any question and answer things that you guys want to do. I very much appreciate you guys coming out here. I appreciate Claudia and the church and everyone for putting this together. This is the most important cause because without us breathing, we can't make the world a better place. Together, we're going to do that. It starts here, right now. Thank you.
Okay, I guess we can line up over here and we'll start our walk.